Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this session on Inform Warning. My name's Andy Thow. I'm the coordinator of Inform, working for the OCHA Center for Humanitarian Data. I'm going to be doing this session jointly with my colleague Sun-joo from UNDP. Sun-joo, do you want to perhaps introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sun-joo. I'm a data scientist at the Crisis Bureau at UNDP.
Thanks. So thank you very much for joining. We're very excited to present this Inform Warning project to you today. So that's basically the purpose of our session, is to give you a brief introduction of the Inform partnership, the concept of Inform Warning, and the project that we plan to undertake over the next couple of years. The basic purpose of Inform Warning is to provide quantitative inputs into anticipatory action processes. So it's basically a way to aggregate early warning information and make it accessible for decision making. Next slide, please. In case some of you are not already aware of Inform, I'll start with a very quick introduction to the overall project. Inform is a multi-stakeholder initiative for developing shared and quantitative analysis of crisis risk. And it includes organizations from across the humanitarian and development system, donors, technical partners, and so on. The Joint Research Center of the European Commission is the technical lead for Inform, and OCHA, as I mentioned, is the coordinator. And the basic purpose of Inform is to provide shared analysis that all organizations can use in their decision making. And basically what that involves is jointly developing methodologies and tools that can be incorporated into the decision making processes of partners. Essentially what we do is create products that aggregate and analyze data and make it more accessible for supporting decisions, particularly around resource allocation, that kind of thing. And we have kind of a suite of products which address different stages of the crisis or disaster management cycle. One is a crisis severity index. So it's basically a global comparison of the severity of humanitarian crises. That's used obviously to inform response and early action. We have a global risk index, which is more focused on the structural risks of crises. So that's more focused on uses for prevention and preparedness. And we have a climate change risk index, which is basically a longer term projection of the risk index, which takes into account climate, how hazards will change as a result of climate change, and also socioeconomic trends. So that's kind of a longer term product that's focused on adaptation. These three products are essentially composite indicators. So they're a way of combining lots of data and information into one overall measure. And then lastly, what we're going to talk about mainly today is our new product called Inform Warning, which is designed to focus on these anticipatory action processes. So the idea is that it will monitor risks in a more dynamic way and anticipate how they will change over the next 1 to 12 months and try and predict impact. So this will be more of a curated set of information with a series of kind of pieces of analysis on top of it, rather than a single composite index like the other products. Next slide, please. So let's go into a little bit more detail on Inform Warning. We've done already quite an extensive scoping phase that's resulted in the proposal and technical specification for Inform Warning, which we're now working on and have started a 2-year project on the 1st of July. And this scoping phase involved talking to all our Inform partners, which is around 30 plus other relevant users, developing different use cases and also some technical workshops. And we started by reviewing all the other tools and early warning processes that are already out there, and came to several conclusions, which include that these existing systems are generally not open. They're not global in coverage, and they don't cover all or a large proportion of possible risk drivers, so they're not multi-hazard. It's very cost ineffective and time intensive for all organizations to collect this kind of information and analyze it on their own. They also find it difficult to identify the best sources of information and the most timely sources of information. And they also find it very difficult to incorporate this information into decision-making processes, because it's often not quantified or it's not comparable. So with the aim of addressing these challenges, the aim of Informed Warning is to present reliable and quantified multi-hazard information about risk trends, forecasts, and scenarios that could lead to crisis impacts in the next 12 months, and then can be easily used to support decisions on preparedness and anticipatory action. We won't be covering kind of forecasted events in the next, with a lead time of days, like cyclones and so on. This is already covered elsewhere. The focus is more on emerging crises, seasonal risks, triggers, and so on. And the intention is to present all of this information in one place, make it usable for a wide range of early warning processes. So it will basically be a quantitative summary of information that's relevant for anticipatory action, and a common evidence base that can be used to help support these kind of decisions. So with that, thank you. I'll hand over to you, Sun-joo, to go into a bit more detail on the project.
Thanks, Sandy. Can we go to the next slide, please? So I will go over the conceptual model a little bit. So we've developed a draft conceptual model for Informed Warning. This is being updated as I speak. So I'll go through the main components, which won't change. And the first component is something that we're calling the risk monitor, which is a curated catalog of indicators and other information that can tell us about how risks are changing dynamically. It will bring together a wide range of indicators, forecasts, and predictions on various risks and hazards that are updated regularly, like quarterly, monthly, or weekly. So this includes seasonal changes in risks that are known, for example, like cyclones and drought seasons. And then there will also be things like outputs of various external predictive models, like food security and displacement. And the purpose of the risk monitor is to bring all of this together in one place. And we think that curating and bringing together multi-hazard data with high frequency updates would be a high demand product in and of itself. And then there will be part of the system that generates warnings and alerts. In the diagram, this is the analysis and human creation part. So the data in the risk monitor will be aggregated and modeled, and some static and dynamic thresholds will be set to trigger warnings about the direction of risk in a given context or country and a given time frame, like 1 to 12 months. And then a human analyst would then validate and contextualize this and put out a prioritized set of alerts, which would be a more targeted and detailed set of information about the evolution of risk, for example, with drivers and location, timing, and a broad set of impacts. So like the other informed tools that Andy mentioned, we would provide a prioritization that partners and other users could use as vital input to their early warning processes. And then the final fourth component is a web platform, which will have intuitive visuals and a way to access the data through like an API or a direct download, and a system for generating and incorporating user feedback. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is all brought together by the technical working group. We have already convened a technical working group. As Amy mentioned, we've already started the work this summer. And this is composed of various partners who will help develop the informed warning system. Specifically, the technical working group will advise on overall strategic direction for the informed warning project. It will contribute use cases and user perspectives that will guide the development, and it will provide technical and policy expertise. And finally, it's sort of like an arena or a place where we can make connections to initiatives of their own organizations and other organizations that are relevant to informed warning. Next slide, please. So the funding, our primary source of funding is CRAF'd, who is also supporting this event. So shout out to CRAF'd. We are getting 700 million from CRAF'd over 2 years, beginning this summer and going into the middle of 2025. And then we have just gotten supplemental ECHO funding, which is 250 euros this year. So together, this brings us to just under $1 million over 2 years. Next slide, please. So I will sort of briefly go over the work plan that we have. As I've mentioned previously, this is a 2-year project starting the summer of this year and then going to the summer of 2025. And we've sort of chunked this into 3 broad stages that roughly align with the calendar year. And so this year, 2023, is the conceptualization stage. And as I've mentioned previously, in the summer, we established a technical working group to start the work. And as Andy mentioned, we've already conducted consultations with the main partners to identify and confirm the priority use cases and see if there have been any major updates since the scoping that we did 2 years ago. And while there have been some improvements in early warning related data sources and systems, we've confirmed that the needs remain largely the same and the project's purpose is still valid. And now we're working with partners to conduct comprehensive research and to develop a detailed analytical framework for the informed warning system. And we expect to get started on the risk monitor portion of the work very, very soon. Next year is the development stage, and this is where we expect to build out the bulk of the informed warning system. And in parallel to the methodological work that I went over in the conceptual framework slide, we will also be working on system development, which is the back end and front end of the website. We will be working very closely with web developers to translate the results into intuitive visuals. And we also expect to have an API and a direct download system so that users can easily access not only the results, but also the underlying data from the risk monitor. And then the final stage is the refinement stage, which is slated for 2025. And this includes adjustments to the analytical products and the web platform, possibly incorporating feedback from test users. And this stage would also include developing trainings and outreach activities and any relevant publications. Next slide, please. So that's informed warning in a nutshell. If you want further information, please go to these links. And finally, this is a plug for you to work with us. If you work at an organization and you think your organization would be a good technical partner for informed warning, please get in touch with Andy or me. And also, if you are an individual with relevant skill sets and interest, we do have analyst positions opening up very soon. So again, if you're interested, please get in touch with Andy or me. Thank you.
Thanks, Sun-joo. So we're open for questions. I'm not sure how it works. I suppose that you can come off mute, or we can do it in the chat. But certainly here for any questions or clarifications. Seems not. Eugene, what's the program? Should we wrap up?
Sure. If there are no questions and you don't have any further comments that you want to share with the group, we can certainly wrap up early.
Okay, let's do that. I suggest. Thank you very much for your attention, everyone, and we look forward to perhaps connecting with you over this in the next weeks and months. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.